an application architect with single sourcing solutions. Brandon, in his role with single sourcing, advises clients in many industries on their implementation of their global content strategy. Brandon is a well-known expert in the Arbortext community and a regular contributor and presenter at PTC User. Brandon?
Thanks, Dave. All right, so our topic today is structured authoring with Arbortext and the solutions that it offers to some of the most fundamental challenges that businesses face in creating and maintaining product information. We'll start with a brief description of what structured authoring is all about, then present a simple scenario that demonstrates these challenges and the solutions that structured authoring with Arbortext offers. What is structured authoring? With structured authoring, content is king, not presentation. Words and data are marked up to indicate their part in the structure of the information, rather than the style of formatting they'll receive. Put another way, the author describes what each part of the information is, not how it looks. Formatting for a particular output form then becomes a function of the information structure, possibly one of several functions depending upon which type of output is needed, such as PDF for print or HTML for the web. There's always a cost to build things, and information is no exception. A product is built once and sold once. An asset is built once and provides ongoing value. As an organization gains experience with the structured authoring paradigm, an even greater shift may take place in which the creation of information products becomes a separate, but related, activity from the creation of information assets. Creating a new product, such as a manual or a help file, becomes a matter of simply assembling the right combination of reusable information assets. So let's consider a product information scenario that we can all relate to. You need to set the clock on the dashboard of your car, so you grab the owner's manual. Wow, is all this just about my car? This thing is absolutely huge. Well, maybe that's because it's in 3 separate languages, but maybe it's also because it describes all 5 of the radios that your car might have come with, even though it actually came with only one of them. If this seems like information overload to you, imagine what it must be like to create those manuals for the dozens of models that the manufacturer produces each year. Chances are your business's product information challenges are just as daunting. The challenges in this scenario include each manual having different specifications for formatting for different versions, including the printed manual and a version that the customer can pull up on the web. Information is shared between manuals, such as the same radio being used in different models, but the formatting may be different in each manual, and small variations may be needed to make the information fit into the manual. The information should read as if it was written just for that manual. Finally, it should be possible to customize a particular manual to match the configuration of an individual vehicle so that it consists of only relevant information, like instructions for the radio that's actually in that car. So let's look at some of the problems that are encountered using unstructured authoring methods. Information created with unstructured authoring methods needs CPR. C is for consistency. Consistent formatting helps convey the meaning and the structure of your information. If formatting is not used consistently, that meaning is lost. In our scenario, the single automotive company uses bold type when referring to the model name of their product, the single sourcer passenger car. This helps distinguish references to the model name from references to individual components, such as the optional audio sourcer premium sound system, which is referred to using italic type. If the author has trouble remembering which format is used for a certain type of reference, the reader could become confused or even be completely misled. For example, the model, as shown here, is in bold, but the names of individual components are in italics. In the safety section, the author has accidentally marked up the word sourcer with italics. This seems to indicate that they're talking about the audio sourcer radio component, when in reality they're talking about the sourcer model of car. Productive resources, P is for productivity. Productive resources spend most of their time on high-value tasks. In the product information field, subject matter experts, or SMEs, are a critical resource. They have the product information that needs to get to the customer. Creating quality content is a high-value task for an SME. Tweaking the formatting of an information product is a low-value task. As you can see, even in our very simple example, there are a variety of formatting conventions that need to be observed. Headers for various chapters and sections have to be formatted using a particular font size, bolding, and so on. Inline formatting is used to indicate certain types of terms that we want the user to be able to easily identify, and so forth. Checking and rechecking all of these conventions every time a change is made can be a very time-consuming process. Finally, R is for reusability. Reusable information assets are the holy grail of product information management. Consistency is ensured because the information is authored once and maintained in a centralized location. Productivity is improved by doing the work of content creation and maintenance just once. Unfortunately, unstructured authoring tools are inherently designed to create content for one specific format and a single use. Because the formatting information is interwoven with the content, it is difficult to impossible to apply different formatting for a different information product. Customizing the information to best fit each use almost certainly requires maintaining separate versions for each use, defeating the goal of reuse, often forcing a compromise between reusing an overly generic piece of information or taking on the maintenance burden that comes with customizing. Back in our scenario, we want to take advantage of our branding by using a particular font and color, in our case green because our vehicles are eco-friendly, anytime we mention the model name. However, because we produce the printed manual in black and white to save on costs, we want to stick with black, which is more readable than the shade of gray in which the green text would appear. Our authoring tool might be able to produce both a printed document and HTML for the web from the same source, but it certainly doesn't give us a way to specify different formatting for each case. So keeping this requirement means having to maintain separate documents. Even if we can get around that requirement, we'll also want to substitute the correct model name in all the right places when using the content in different manuals, so that text can say your sourcer for the passenger car or your source liner, the passenger van model, instead of the generic your vehicle. Our unstructured authoring tool simply has no solution for this type of dynamic content. Now let's talk about some of the solutions that the structured authoring paradigm offers. The most important solution offered by structured authoring with ArborText is the tools required to use semantic markup. Semantics are all about meaning, specifically the meaning of your information. Markup is a means to annotate your information, adding value to the information by attaching metadata that describes it and providing the context needed to present it in a variety of forms. Semantic markup is an application of SGML or XML. SGML, the standard generalized markup language, was developed starting back in the 1960s and standardized in 1986. Its focus was primarily on documentation, and it was used extensively in certain fields, but did not see the broader adoption that other technologies enjoyed. XML, the extensible markup language, is a simplified version of SGML, designed with the needs of the web in mind. Standardized in 1998, XML has enjoyed much broader adoption than its ancestor. ArborText products support applications of both SGML and XML. Note that while some applications of these technologies can be considered semantic markup, others are not, such as HTML, which is used to describe the presentation of information on web pages. Semantic markup uses tags to annotate information. These include elements, which define the type of information that they enclose, including the types of content allowed and the attributes which can be specified for the element. Attributes specify properties and metadata about an element or its content. While attributes are simple, named values with no internal structure, elements can contain both text and other elements in a hierarchical fashion. By specifying how elements can be nested, including ordering and repetition, authoring practices can be specified and enforced, leading to greater consistency and providing guidance to authors. Here we can see markup that corresponds to the example we were looking at earlier in our unstructured authoring tool. Icons such as, with the right pointing arrow, such as doc and chapter, represent the beginning of an element. Doc, in this case, represents our entire document, and the element begins and ends with the start and end of the document. Each element defines the other elements and text that are allowed inside of it, and they also define what elements are required and which are optional. So, for instance, a chapter must have a title. This is one simple way that authoring practices can be enforced. As we can see, we have sections for subparts of the chapter, each of which has a title on it. Paragraphs, including what we refer to as inline markup, to indicate special formatting that may be required, or particular semantic or meaning that belongs to a piece of information. And we also have elements such as xref, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that allow us to reuse pieces of information in order to help maintain consistency. Having marked our information up, we can now specify the rules for how to format it. The rules are based on the structure provided by our tags and can take advantage of the element hierarchy, such as different rules for formatting a title in a table and a title in a figure. The rules can also take attributes into account, providing different formatting for a figure with a type attribute set to fold out, for instance, for a larger figure, and one without that attribute. Many rules, however, are just based on the name of the element. The ArborText Styler application provides an intuitive but powerful interface to specify formatting rules. Most formatting properties are specified at a very high level so that they can be rendered into multiple forms, such as print and web. Here we can see a list of the elements that we've been using in our document: chapter, component, doc, model, para, and so forth, and the basic style that is applied to each of these. So the document, the chapter is considered a first-level division, and sections are considered second and third-level divisions, depending upon what level they occur at. The title element, because it occurs in multiple locations, both as the title of a chapter or as the title of a section, has several sets of rules. One for cases where the title is part of the title of a chapter, one for where it's the title of a section, and one for the case where it's the title of a subsection. Different formatting is supplied for each. For instance, 18-point text for the title of a chapter, 12-point text for a section title, which is rendered in all capital letters, and a slightly smaller size for subsection titles, which are not rendered in all capital letters. Having provided the basic formatting rules, we can now produce both printed output for our document, which, as you can see, looks fairly similar to the style that we had produced earlier in the other tool. As well as HTML for a web-based version. For more advanced formatting requirements and formatting that's specific to a particular type of output, such as the example involving green text for the web output, rules can be specified that are relevant just to one particular output type. For instance, the model element specifies a particular font and bold text, and just for HTML outputs, it also specifies the green color, where all other types of outputs default to the black. As you may have noticed earlier, our print output remains black in order to increase legibility in the printed output, while the HTML or web version takes full advantage of the color capabilities. Note that all of these rules are handled in the styling portion of the application. So most authors would not be having to deal with these on a regular basis as they author their information. As long as they've tagged their information correctly, these rules are automatically applied when they go to format their documents. Structured authoring with Arbortext also provides several tools to ease maintenance of information and enhance reusability. Cross-references are a common tool used in various documentation systems. The reference is made to a particular target at another point in the document, and an appropriate label is generated based on some combination of the type of the target, an automatically assigned number or label, and the title of the target object. When any of these change, perhaps due to editing of the title or reordering of the document content, the cross-reference updates automatically. In our document, we're making use of cross-references with the xref tag to repeat the model name of the vehicle that we're discussing in our manual. The name of the model is defined once near the top of the document, and an identifier of model is applied to it so that we can make reference to it later on. In this case, the full name of the model is Single Sourcer, incorporating the name of the company as well. We've also used a sub-element, short name, to indicate a nickname for the model that might be used more commonly. Our xref tag then uses the model identifier to refer to the earlier definition. And you can see that we've also used that further down in the document in the safety section. And here you can see that the model name is automatically filled in both locations. Should we make changes to the model name for any reason, the cross-reference will automatically handle updating the text to reflect our changes. As you can see, the new name, Source Liner, is now reflected in both locations. And of course, this same functionality is available for web output as well. Profiling is also a very powerful tool for enhancing the reusability of information assets. Profiling allows information to be marked, or rather portions of information to be marked for filtering at publishing time. Custom criteria can be established for filtering, such as product configuration, for instance, which radio is in the car that's actually being delivered, or a certain publication type, for instance, an owner's manual versus a service manual, which may have more detailed information about repair procedures. In summary, we've discussed and demonstrated how structured authoring with Arbortext provides the tools you need to improve your product information quality and lower your costs thanks to increased consistency, productivity, and reusability. Thank you for your time, and I'll turn it back over to Dave at this point.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. Well, everyone, hopefully today you saw, as Brandon discussed and demonstrated, how Arbortext can help you move your product information from low return to a high value asset with high impact and a true differentiator for your company as they roll out your global content strategy. Some of the resources, what we're showing you now, are some of the resources provided by single sourcing solutions within the Arbortext community, including advisory line support, blog information on tips and tricks, regular podcasts, webinars such as this, announcements, and other activities or associations that we help our customers and the Arbortext community continue to evolve and take advantage of this great technology.
I'm sorry, Dave, some of the people missed what you were saying. Could you please repeat what you were talking about?
Yes, what you see on the screen now is Arbortext resources provided by and coordinated by single sourcing solutions, including our advisory line, where you can get support for simple problems that your organization may be encountering, blog information, where we're continually updating information about Arbortext and how to use the product, podcast, various announcements, and various resources within the Arbortext community. For more information, please visit the link at the bottom of the screen at single-sourcing.com/company/subscribe.html.
Dave, I have a question for you from the audience. Someone is asking, is there a download of Arbortext Editor?
Yes, there is. There's two ways to get Arbortext Editor and download for evaluation: a 14-day evaluation, or contact us directly and we can help you with a more extensive download of the product itself for a longer duration to help you with your evaluation.
Great. Thank you. And I have a question for Brandon. Brandon?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody would like to know, does this program sit on top of or replace FrameMaker?
Actually, this would replace FrameMaker. This is a completely separate authoring tool, and FrameMaker is not required.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions? Please feel free to type in the questions in the question box. Okay, so here's another question for you. Is there a version control tool compatible with ArborText?
Yes, actually, PTC, which is the company that produces the ArborText product line, produces the Windchill content management system. And Dave, did you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, the Windchill content management, Windchill is the framework, and the content management system that sits on top of that Windchill framework is called ArborText Content Manager, and it allows customers to manage all types of documentation and, if necessary, associate that documentation with the physical or CAD product data itself. It's a completely web-enabled environment, which means you don't have to install any product on your desktop. So it can be centrally administered and accessed remotely from outside your office with the appropriate passwords and security, of course.
Great, that answered that question. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the question box. And I'll give you another minute to do that. So here's a question. For the beginning author, what should I be using to create content? A piece at a time.
A piece at a time. I guess I'm not quite sure I understand the question, meaning just like individual components that would become part of a larger document later on, perhaps?
I'll ask them to explain a little bit more.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll kind of we'll go with that assumption for the moment. That there are actually a variety of approaches to doing this. One that we particularly endorse is a sort of framework for XML authoring known as DITA, the Darwin Information Typing Architecture. This is actually a framework that was developed by IBM over a number of years, and actually they built it on top of the ArborText product line using the editing and formatting features of ArborText as a basis for their development work. That's since been taken over by a standards group, so that's being independently maintained, and ArborText actually provides really excellent support for DITA. But one of the big things that DITA is focused on is what we call topic-based authoring, where each topic is a separate standalone component of information, and then maps are provided to basically assemble a set of topics together into a complete document. And that's kind of what we were talking about with the whole idea of information assets and information products, where topics would be the assets that you can use repeatedly in different publications, and the products would be the actual end result books or particular packages of information that you would assemble. So by all means, Editor provides excellent support for that. They've done a lot of work, especially in the last couple of versions, to enhance their support for that framework. And I would challenge you to find a better set of tools to support that process. Were we on track with the direction of that question, Janice?
I think Brandon Janice is responding to questions. So while we're
Conferring,
waiting
okay.
for Janice, I'll just tell
I'm
everyone
sorry.
a little bit about.
I'm sorry. I was talking and my microphone was muted. I do apologize. The question I had from the audience is, I have a substantial amount of material in HTML. If I were to use ArborText, what challenges might I encounter with importing my HTML files?
Well, basically, and we get this a lot because we have a lot of companies that are in pretty similar circumstances. That they've authored information using tools like HTML or Microsoft Word or other document systems that really aren't focused on the meaning of the information. They're really focused more about producing a particular formatted result. And so it's very difficult in an automated fashion to kind of recover that information and understand what that means when you're moving to a richer model like what XML and ArborText generally provide. If you're looking to do a fairly manual process, the challenges probably would not be that great. It should be relatively straightforward to pull your information in. XML is still, in the end, a text-based format, so as long as you can pull your text from one format into the other, you shouldn't have any particular difficulties. But the really valuable part of that process is in tagging your information much more specifically to what the purpose of that content is. And really down the line, that buys you a great deal because of the fact that you can then use that as a starting point to create whatever outputs you might need. You can actually go right back into HTML again if necessary for web purposes. You can take that into a print publication or whatever direction you need to go with it.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. I think we've, oh, here's one. Speaking of output, how is PDF rendered from XML versus ArborText?
PDF rendered from XML, I'm not sure I understand, from XML versus ArborText?
Sorry, via ArborText. Looks like I need to get new
via
glasses
ArborText.
too. I need new glasses, sorry.
Turn up the font size a little bit then. Anyway, yeah, actually ArborText has its own composition engine, which has been developed over quite a long period of time. That was actually one of the early real automation-focused composition engines. So the that engine actually produces PDF directly using style sheets like we built in the styler application there, as we demonstrated earlier. Does that answer the question, or we're looking for a little more detail on that?
Yes, it did. He said that was great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, it looks like I have no more questions from the audience. Oh. The question is, can you offer information about ArborText training? So I'll let Dave field that.
Yes, part of the single sourcing solution, what we do is we help clients move from their traditional training environment of implementing XML solutions to a knowledge transfer-based approach where we transfer information from our experts like Brandon to your team so that you can implement these products in a real environment so that you're up and running quickly and in a short time. And we do that in a number of approaches, what we call a jumpstart approach, which combines training with actual implementation of your style sheets and your content, so that as your people come out of training and they've got book smarts now, we help them now implement the actual content. So they do real work as part of their training approach. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it did. I have another question, sorry. Is profiling similar to conditional text in FrameMaker?
I'm not especially familiar with that particular feature of FrameMaker, but conditional text is probably another kind of good synonym for what profiling is all about. So, for instance, kind of go into a little more detail. When we had 3 separate sections in our document, and actually I can go ahead and pull that back up here. Each of these 3 short sections here describes a different option that the vehicle may have come with for a sound system. So what we could do is actually go in and mark up each of these sections as being applicable only under a particular circumstance. So when we go to publish a document, we can actually say, give me a version of this document that only has the information relevant to a vehicle that came equipped with the 3rd option here. And that'll allow us to automatically suppress any other information that isn't relevant to that particular configuration. And that can be done, right down to individual words within paragraph, right up to including or excluding entire chapters of the book.
Okay, so in general, when one authors content chunks, where are the chunks kept? And I can see how ArborText grabs it and formats it, but where does the actual content live?
That would depend upon the particular configuration you choose to use. We talked a little bit about the ArborText Content Manager system, which is a really full content management system that provides a trail of the history of a document as modifications get made, and in that case the document's actually being kept in a database system that sits underneath that content manager. But you can also go with something as simple, especially for a smaller group, as just keeping them in a particular location on a hard disk. And maintaining them just like any other files.
Question to that, as text files?
They would be as XML. XML is a text-based format, so you can actually pull it up with just about any type of tool that lets you look at a text file. However, obviously, ArborText Editor provides additional capabilities and makes it a lot easier to work with that form, make sure that the syntax is being maintained properly and enforces all of the rules of the particular type of document that you're working with.
Yes, great. Thank you. So you showed cross-referencing data. Can you also integrate with other data sources such as Excel or Oracle to help build a parts catalog, for example?
Yes. Editor actually supports a data merge capability in which you can define one or more sources of data, and that can be a relational database like Oracle or SQL Server. You can pull information from Excel documents. I forget what all the different options are. You can even do something as simple as comma-separated fields, real simple text files with simple delimiters for structure, and then you can set up queries to run against those various sources and automatically merge that data in and provide tagging around it in order to apply formatting when you go to publish.
Great. Okay. One more chance for any other questions. I know I've said this a couple of times, and then all of a sudden I get a flurry of questions.
Well, as soon as they hear that going once, going twice.
I know. Well,
it prompts the memory. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wait, one more question. It's like the Columbo approach. So I do have a question here. What output formats are supported in Styler?
Styler actually support, in fact, let me just go ahead and pull up the window here and I can show you the list directly. We'll go ahead and look at the properties of this particular style sheet. So print, PDF, as we demonstrated, HTML, web, which is really more for kind of producing a group of HTML files with navigation between the files and so forth. HTML help, which is, you may be familiar with that. A lot of Windows applications use that format to provide their help files. RTF, or rich text format, which is the basic format that Microsoft Word is built on, as well as WordPad, which we were using earlier, and a variety of other tools use that format. And DMP is actually another Arbortext product, digital media publisher, which provides a variety of ways to package up information to put onto CDs along with software and so forth.
Great.
Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about DMP?
Sure, I had to unmute there. DMP is a standard offering from PTC as part of their automated publishing engine, and what it allows you to do is create a website with your documentation, as Brandon indicated, linked together so that it can be searchable with table of contents and navigable, but presented in an HTML format, so it's completely accessible by your user.
I believe actually you can, yeah, it does have a built-in search capability. You can also combine both HTML and PDF in a DMP package.
That's correct. That's correct.
In fact, the most recent versions of the Arbortext products and several of the other PTC products are now using DMP to produce the help system that comes with the products.
Okay, great. I have no other questions.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending today. For more information on Arbortext or on single sourcing solution, please visit our website at www.single-sourcing.com, where you'll learn more about us as well as how these Arbortext products can be deployed in your environment to implement a unified global content strategy. Thank you again for your time. We look forward to seeing you again at our next web session.